Okay, cool. Welcome everybody. I'm gonna try to explain how I put this all together and connect it with the LEDs and get it all set up. Pretty straightforward. We're gonna start with the centerpiece here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It comes in 6 pieces. The base, the inserts, and the tops. So here we're gonna super glue the tops to the inserts. I'm using some kind of Gorilla brand super glue here. And I'm just gonna put a little dab around the edge of the whole top piece and fit it in. Now you wanna make sure that you have the right orientation because the centerpieces look symmetrical, but they really aren't. So just make sure you have the right orientation, give it a little glue, put it together. So the outer top piece actually connects to both of these inner pieces. So I'm just gonna kind of line them up, slide it around until it all kind of sits into place. And from there, again, we'll just hit it with some super glue and put it in place and set it off to the side. I find the super glue really nice. It does leave a white film, which can easily just kind of be brushed away with a toothbrush or something. Some people don't like it, but I find that the glue works really well, and so I kind of put up with it. And there we go. We'll try and be careful and just fit it in to where it's supposed to go. Slide it around a little bit. Make sure everything's sitting properly, and you just put your glue away, set it to the side, and just wait till it's done. Okay, so now we're going to get the LED strips set up. So for the center, I have one strip with 9 segments on it and another strip with 4 segments. I've removed the adhesive backing on the back because it makes it easier to kind of just stick to the table and work with it. Here I have some solder flux. I'm just applying it to the contacts on each of the edges, so that we can just throw some solder on there. It'll make things easier a little bit later. Tin the edge there and just make a couple little solder bumps on the edges. Quick and easy. Just dab it and get some of that flux off of there. And I'm also going to tin the middle of the long section because that's where I'm going to connect my DuPont cable for power input. Once again, give it a little flux, throw some solder on there, and you're good to go. Hit it with the dab, and you're done with this part. Now at this point, so the 4 piece is for the inner part of the center panel, and the 9 piece is for the outer part. So we're going to need to connect power from the outer part to the inner part. So I'm just cutting a couple pieces of 22 AWG stranded wire. Got the classic red and black, and so I'm cutting 2 other pieces for the DuPont cable that will be connected later on. A little smaller, doesn't need to be too long. the connected cables that I'm doing right now are actually a little too long. They didn't need to be that long, but that's not going to hurt anything. This tool removes the insulation from the wires. It's very handy. It kind of just does everything for you. You just line it up and press it. Works for all sorts of different size cables, wires, I guess. Okay, so I'm going to use my helping hands here and just tin the edges of these wires with a little bit of flux and solder. Just making sure the wires are clean here. Now that that's done, we're going to want to connect the longer segment to the shorter segment. And here, once again, just stick it to the table, get a bit of solder. Just try and be careful. My technique here is a little dangerous. Heat's a little close to my hands, but just give it a quick tap. Make sure everything's wet and connected nicely. And you should be good to go. And we're done. Perfect. So at this point, we're gonna glue all of these into the center panel. So the inner LEDs, you want to push through the hole and kind of just set them in place here. There is adhesive on the back of the LED strips, but I find it's not really that great, so I super glue it in. So you see here that cable is a little long, but again, that's not really going to hurt anything. So I'm just kind of putting my LEDs in there just to kind of get a feel of where I want them all. You stick them in using the adhesive backing, and then we're going to come in and throw some super glue in there. And we get the super glue out and just kind of pull back one piece at a time, throw a bit of glue in there, press it with your hands and give it a couple seconds, and then move on and do the rest. So I just use DuPont cables because it's easy, or DuPont connectors. You can use whatever you have on hand, just straight wires, anything that's easy for you. So I have the two male DuPont pins. I have a two wire DuPont connector, my crimps, set of pliers, and my wires. So what I like to do is I'll put the wire in the connector, Kind of just use the pliers to crimp the wire holders a little bit. Remove the extra metal piece. So this kind of holds it in place, and then I put it through the crimper, and it's pretty much good at that point. I think these DuPont connectors generally are actually for 24 AWG, but I'm using 22 here, so they don't quite fit great. So I just kind of press on the edges a little bit after I crimp it. That seems to fix the issue here.
I can feel it rising. I can feel the wind on the back of my neck, chasing the horizon. Sun is going down, we ain't headed home yet. I can feel it building. Pressure so high, it'll never come down. Feeling like a billion.
So we crimp it.
In the sky, I've been losing the ground. Give me that.
Check our work. Looks good. Get the pliers, press on the sides a little bit just to make it a little more narrow. Put it in the DuPont housing. Might have to press it a little bit, but looks like we're good to go. Now at this point we want to connect this to those solder points we created in the middle of the 9-strip LED. This isn't a great position here, but I'm trying to put it in a spot where you can see. So I know this is thermoplastic. 3D printing filament melts with heat, but if you do this quick enough, it shouldn't really cause any issues. It can handle a decent amount of heat before it starts to deform. 2-3 seconds. So you just want to try and be quick if you can.
I can feel it rising. I can feel the wind on the back of my neck, chasing the horizon. Sun is going
So I'm just connecting the ground here.
I can feel it building. Pressure so
Looks good. Connect the 12 volt.
like a billion. Head up in the sky, I've been losing the ground. Give me that. Give me that.
And looks good. Perfect.
I can feel it.
From here we're pretty much done. I'm gonna connect these and show you the colors right away. Just throw in a little more glue. I missed a little spot here. Now, once you get to this point, there's the problem of how to keep the top pieces on. If you don't expect to ever need to open this again, you can super glue it. I'm potentially going to work on a solution in the future where the pieces snap together instead of needing super glue, which should let you open them back up later, move things around, and so forth. But for this example, I'm just going to set them on top, and that's good to go. So I notice here that one of my holes actually has some filament strands in it that aren't letting the wires through. So we'll just clean that up. There we go. Stick the wires through. I got a little 12 volt power supply, some alligator clips. So I'm just gonna connect them here. Plug it in, and beautiful. We got our whole LED strips lighting up, and everything looks good. Pop on the tops. As mentioned, these only go in a certain way. Don't force it in. There you go. Looking good. Now we're gonna finish up this arrow here. I actually lost the footage of me putting in the strips on this arrow, but here's a little bit left. We'll fast forward through most of this. Pretty much the same thing. The arrow uses 3 strips of 4 segments each. I connect them with the 22 AWG wires like you see there, super glue it in. Just find an edge somewhere that you want to connect the DuPont cables to, and you're good to go once again. And once again, I'm just going to place these on top. Looks like it's holding. Super glue did its job. Connect our alligator clips. This one's a nice blue. Nice. Looking good. Now the last thing I want to show you is how this all connects to the back plates that I designed. So here's the finished center and arrow panel that we made. I'll grab a couple back plates here. I'll show you just the first one. So there's a little circle on the bottom of the arrows that fit into the back plate. And once again, just like the top pieces, you can super glue it on once you figure out exactly how you want it. Maybe use hot glue so that you can take it off later. Ideally, there would be a clip system. So the holes on the 4 sides match the holes on the arrows. So you would just place it through. Or ideally, you just have this set on there already, and the holes go all the way through. So you can see the cable channels on the bottom. That gives ample room for multiple cables from multiple arrows to be run behind the back plates, just to hide it, just so there aren't just a bunch of cables hanging around. That's really the main motivation for the back plates. So we'll bring out a second back plate and the little back plate connectors. They can maybe be a little difficult to hook in. See, I'm struggling with this one a little bit. Once connected, they hold fairly well. Once again, you might want to super glue them in place. So as shown, you put the arrow on the other one, you could rotate it however you want, and as long as it's following a cardinal direction, then it should line up with the holes. Okay, and that's it. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy your StepManiaX arrows.